Who is joining us for the first time, or if you've been away, I want to bring you into the center of the room with the altar. And I'd like to acknowledge the four beautiful candles that we have lit today. And they are an extraordinary offering that we did receive from our Sangha member. There's a spring equinox candle and a self love and a healing candle. And the other one, I can't quite read. What's that other one? Positivity, positivity. And then we have another beautiful, sweet Dana offering today from Lee, I believe, which is a humongous, wonderful big jar of honey. Thank you. And thank you, everyone. And then on the altar, on a giant circular hat box, are a whole bunch of Power Rangers. Power Ranger toys. Who knew their spiritual significance? And if you don't know, I don't know. We can just make it up. But my thing about it is my feeling about the Power Rangers, about toys in general, is the reminder that spiritual work, spiritual effort, it's hard sometimes. And if we make it specific to the journey of recovery, the journey of recovery is so difficult because most of the time, most of us find ourselves in this place of recovering after years and years of darkness and burying and hiding and laboring and negativity and shadow. And so it almost becomes suspicious to be in the light and to have fun. It's almost as if to suggest that experiencing joy is a betrayal to the hardship, to the regret, to the misconduct that we have engaged. And while that may be true, the truth is that without a little bit of light, without a little bit of play and joy and creativity, we will not last. The journey will not be sustained because it's always a combination of light and dark, sweet and sour, play, stillness, seriousness. It's a complicated, complex mix of it all. And so I like to bring toys and bring them front and center as an altarpiece to remind us to play, to take time to be light, to engage things that bring us joy, and to remind ourselves that now as adults, we are the caretakers of our own innocence. And with that, I'd like to chime us in. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma, and my name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators here, and I love what I just said, which is being the caretaker of our own innocence. What a beautiful thing to just pop out. I love it. I love when that happens. That was unplanned, and yet it really resonated with me. And so thank you for letting me share that with you today. For the month of March, friends, in the Spokane Sangha, we have been exploring something in Buddhism called the Eight Worldly Winds. Buddhists love lists. It's a way of organizing all this data, all of these practices, and it is an effective way of keeping things simple, organized, and fairly straightforward. The eight worldly winds are actually four pairs of opposites that, if you can think of it as a giant umbrella, and there are four umbrellas, and sheltering underneath these four pairs of opposites are many, many, many more sacred contradictions and paradoxes that we will encounter as human beings and as complex beings. The eight worldly winds, or the four pairs of opposites, one you are already super familiar with, and that one is pleasure and pain. We all know it. It defines our experience. Another is gain and loss. Another is praise and blame. Another is fame and disgrace. Now, one of the things about contemplating the 8 worldly winds is to notice our propensity for the way that we externalize it. So, for example, when we think about blame, praise and blame, it's often a matter of how other people are blaming me or how other people are praising me. And while that's really important to explore, it's equally important to explore the ways that I praise others and the way I blame others. So it's always both. It's really a way of looking at what's happening externally and what's happening internally. Today, I'd like to bring for the focus of our practice fame and disgrace. And I'd like to put that as a big umbrella, and sheltering underneath that umbrella is a different pair of opposites. And that's what I'd like to explore today, a synonym that we can work with related to recovery and support. And so before we get into that reflection, let's prepare the body to really settle in and receive this contemplation with ease and gentleness. To do that, the first thing I invite you to do is simply take notice of your body and notice scanning the body from the toes to the head, from the head to the toes. If you're holding any tension, and maybe with a little bit of movement, you can activate that tension, bring it to life, and then invite it to settle and ease. You may notice in your body today, in this moment, that it feels a little bit edgy and twitchy. And rather than resist that edginess or twitchiness, you can do a couple of things. One is you can simply be with it as it is and just allow yourself lots of space, lots of permission to be twitchy and edgy. You can also move. So if you're at home and you're on camera, turn your camera off and move. Shake it out, dance it out. That might be really helpful, and invite that to be your perfect practice in this moment. If your body is able to be still, find a posture and settle into it that can sustain you for the duration of this practice. And one of the ways you can anchor is to breathe. You don't need to do anything special about the breath. Just notice. Breathing in and breathing out. If the mind is swirling with thoughts, you can simply acknowledge that swirling thoughts. No need to try to make it stop. I know it can be really challenging, really difficult, particularly if the thoughts are intrusive and negative. And one of the ways you can bring some gentleness into the practice is you can add mantras to the breath, to the cycle of the inhalation and the exhalation. For instance, breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I am practicing. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my mind. You can insert anything that is alive and true for you as a way of creating a bright and steady posture in the body and mind. So together, let's just invite a couple of minutes of quiet to do just that and settle in and enjoy these few moments. Friends, I'd like to bring you under the umbrella of fame and disgrace. And I just invite you to think about those words and allow them to stir up images in your mind, definitions, experiences that you may have had with fame or popularity, and then also experiences that you may have had with disgrace. And what I'd like to concentrate on and bring in is another perspective of this wide, broad concept. And that is thinking about validation and rejection. So taking that big concept of fame and disgrace and making it a little bit smaller and perhaps a little bit more personal. And just looking at the ways we seek validation and looking at the ways we experience rejection and what that means and how that shows up in our lives. What this spiritual teaching is constantly pointing to is the middle way. There is a balance between getting hooked by praise or validation or encouragement or fame and popularity or clicks and likes, all of that attention economy that is so popular right now. And assigning more meaning to it than it's worth. So focusing on validation is an invitation to examine your own mind and your own actions of when we seek validation as a way of encouraging us and letting us know we're heading in the right direction, or seeking validation to such a degree that we no longer trust our own hearts and minds. What we've done is we've given up that power and we've given it over to someone else. We no longer trust our own agency. We no longer trust our own wisdom, and instead we depend on the perspective of others. We seek the perspective of others constantly because there's something on the other side of this, the rejection side, that has a strong presence, constantly telling us we're not enough, we can't be trusted, we're no good. I recently saw someone with a tattoo along their chin that read rotten. Fascinating. I didn't get an opportunity to ask about the story of that. But it makes me wonder, what would motivate somebody to put the word rotten on their face? And what happens every time they look in the mirror? What's that feedback? For me, that would be just full-on rejection. For this person, it could mean something else. I have no idea. But it was a fascinating encounter. When you're in the process of seeking external validation for your own sense of worth, when it doesn't come, what ends up happening is a pendulum swing all the way to the other side, and it's full rejection. And both are complete distortions. But here's something else that I'd like to present, and I want you to think about it. Don't take my word for it. I just want you to consider it for yourselves. This is my This is my experience. When I have studied this and worked with people who look at duality in this way, there's this tendency to treat equanimity and the middle way as somehow neither one or the other. So I'm not going to seek any validation so that I don't have to experience any rejection. I'm just going to be in this stoic middle ground, as if that's the goal, and as if that's the primo gold star place to be. And for this individual, or for people who subscribe to that thought, that might be true. For me, it is not. I definitely have moments where I seek validation and encouragement and praise. This is the kind of thing that feels like the bumpers are up and I know that I'm going in the right direction. But I don't give over my own agency to someone else. And when I feel rejection or I experience criticism, I also have learned to treat that as a bumper to let me know, ooh, I was about to go in the wrong direction. And someone's critique, someone's rejection of my efforts is letting me know, wrong way. And I use it as an opportunity to examine, ooh, okay, what am I doing? As opposed to, I'm a no good loser, I give up. Both are essential, have been essential to my experience. They add color and richness, texture and depth. They really bring forward, I think, my humanity, coupled with a deep spiritual practice. And so anybody who has encouraged me in the past to abandon that altogether so that I can remain equanimous, it has always landed to me as a bit of spiritual bypassing. And I really have no interest in doing that. I bring this forward to you because I don't want you, and I certainly don't want myself, to anytime I find myself in a place of needing encouragement or needing validation, I don't want to start beating myself up for it. Like there's something wrong with me. I shouldn't want this. I shouldn't need this. Maybe that's true, but the point is, and the truth is, right now I do need this. I'm a little wayward. The way isn't clear. I need some reassurance. I need some reinforcement. So I need that validation. But again, I'm not going to give up my agency. I'm going to trust that with that reassurance, I know where to go and I know what to do. On the other hand, when somebody is critical, when somebody rejects, when somebody disapproves, when somebody tries to defame or disgrace me, I don't have to give up my power and allow myself to be completely deflated under the oppressive energy of that experience. I can take what is relevant and apply it to my own inherent and innate wisdom. And by doing both, I find my wiggly middle way. I may not always be solid. I may be wobbly at times, but nevertheless, the steps are mine and mine alone. The path is mine and mine alone. And so it is with each of you. Finding the way with validation and rejection, fame and disgrace, the worldly winds blowing you around, with you knowing how to stay centered and true. Let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. One of the things that we are invited to be brave about is on the journey of recovery and the journey of life. There are going to be people who the struggle is too much and they take their own lives. Dallas honored this space this evening by trusting us with his family's story, his Uncle Rhett, who killed himself. There may be several of you who know that journey. And it is painful, and there is a social narrative out there that is very clearly disgraceful. And yet, when we just open and soften, it can be something else. It can be a way to open to compassion, to the degree of human suffering that somebody would have the courage and the tenacity to take their own life. It also speaks to a lack of services, of support. And so that's why we take a moment to reflect on our practice here today and to recognize that it is powerful. May it strengthen you. May it encourage you to keep going. May it be received in the deepest parts of your mind and your heart that you're more than enough. It is not too late. You have what it takes. Ask for help. Ask for validation. Ask for support. And then be willing to receive it. And then for us, to use this practice as strength in our presence, in our care, in our expression, and in our compassion for ourselves and one another. May this be a simple yet profound act of peace. Thank you, friends. See you next time. Namaste.